Check, 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 check. Can you guys hear me? I have one of these nifty little things I feel like I'm Justin Timberlake or something. I've never used these before. So I gotta tell you guys, I'm a little nervous right now. I'm used to hiding behind a guitar and behind songs, so this is kind of new for me. So can you guys give me a round of applause and be like, hey, you're good? Thanks. All right, so I don't know where to start. I guess we'll start at the beginning. I was born in Germany. I'm not German. Both my parents say, ooh, Deutschland. We're gonna have some issues here in a second. You're part of my baggage. But so I was born an American kid in the former West Germany. I was born in Wiesbaden, and that's where Elvis and Priscilla Presley actually met, which is kind of a fancy little thing. But so I'm one of 6 kids. I'm the second born. There's boy, boy, me, girl, girl, hiatus, boy, girl. So a big family. And when you're raised in a bunch of different places, you kind of wonder who you are, how you fit, what your deal is, how do you communicate with people, you know, stuff like that. Like, you know, if you look at me here in the US, I'm a heterosexual Caucasian male, so it's like, you don't really have a tough life, buddy. But it's kind of different if you're in a bunch of different places where you don't really know yourself, and it's kind of hard, and you're especially picked on for it. And so we had kind of a tough life growing up in Germany, and that's part of what I'm going to be getting into. But you would think that I would blend right in because I was like a little towhead, blonde hair, blue-eyed, little uber Kent just running around. Like, I loved David Hasselhoff. I still love David Hasselhoff, and you should too. I drank that Kool-Aid hard. Come to think of it, like a bunch of significant cultural stuff happened. So I thought it was woven in the fabric. It's kind of like the first time I heard, not vanilla, vanilla ice. It was just like some little German kid. What did he say? Hold up. It's worth it. Hang on a second. It's like stop, collaborate und listen. I was like, I don't know what that means, but okay. So anyway, so yeah, it was kind of hard. I mean, don't get me wrong. Kids can be pretty tough all over the place, but they were especially tough. They knew that I was different. They knew that me and my brothers and sisters were different. They picked on us a lot. The teachers too. It's just different in rural Germany. They can just kind of get away with a lot, I guess. Like, we were kind of beaten up a few times by kids and even by staff, so it was kind of messed up. But I learned a lot back then. You know, I learned a lot from these situations, and one of the things I learned is that it's important to be liked. Like, this is important. And so when you're trying to figure out what these irreducible primary sort of characteristics of people is, it's like, okay, what really pisses them off, everybody, and what really makes them happy. Okay, being nice is cool. Being excellent at school is cool. Not rocking the boat is cool. And then I learned that being strong is also cool, but I wasn't a tough kid growing up or anything until these bullies tried to throw my sister in a garbage can. And then I just completely sprung into action, and I had never been this person before. And so I saw this happening at a distance. She was screaming in panic because these kids were just kind of trying to hurt her. And so full sprint, boom, push these kids out of the way. I was like, ha! Ooh! So I wasn't exactly tough yet, and I'm still not exactly tough, but I tried. And so that's what we picked up in Germany. So it was like, okay, so let me get this straight. You just have to be a perfect human across the board, and they'll leave you alone, and that means you'll also be able to protect your kin. You'll be able to protect yourself, you'll be able to protect your tribe, and you'll be okay. Got it. So when I'm 10, the Berlin Wall comes down, we all move to South Korea. So that's where I lived for the next 7 years of my life. And all the irreducible primaries that I sort of cherry-picked out of my life in Germany was the same. It's like, okay, well, as long as you're like super funny and awesome and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you'll be great, and they'll leave you alone. It diminishes the risk of being in pain, and it means you can protect your family. All right, cool, got it. So I don't exactly blend in Korea either. I know that's weird, but I don't. And so in Korea, we had our own challenges and stuff like that. And then I found what I thought my gateway to strength and to courage and to protecting my family was. I found wrestling. And I thought, like, whoa, that's just so cool. They're all just so tough and so strong and so, I'm going to do that. And so I did do that. And so I trained really hard, and I totally poured my soul into it. And the first time I had a match, I was like, this is going to be cake. I'm going to destroy this fool. That did not happen. He destroyed the shit out of me. Am I allowed to say that? He destroyed me hard. But it's funny. I mean, it is funny when you think about it. It's like, oh, stupid kid. But when you think about it in terms of like where I was coming from and the point I was trying to prove to myself and the point I was trying to prove overall was this guy who I was trying to beat physically held me down on my back against my will in front of my family, my school, my coach, everybody. And so I just flashed back immediately to my sister again. It's like, this stupid, cocky kid cannot defend his tribe. He can't protect his family. He's no good. And so that's the message I brought with me as I destroyed the bathroom stall when I was back there screaming and crying like I couldn't believe how hard it hit. So then I tried to be a tough kid. While I was doing my normal stuff, like being loving, empathetic, and all that stuff, like I was very genuinely me. I picked that up from my mom. And then I did music and all that kind of stuff. Again, be sort of an uberkind, you'll be okay. But I was trying to learn how to be tough, and I was trying to learn how to persevere. So every kid of my family had a real tough time with this sort of environment. And we all took it harder in different levels. And my oldest brother, Doug, took it real hard, I think. I think people are born with a certain sort of mixture, and I think people are more sensitive or maybe less sensitive. But we all tried to use humor to get past really hard stuff, as everybody does. There's nothing wrong with that. But there was always something sort of deeply self-deprecating about his humor, and I never really saw it for a long time. And there was always joking about death and joking about mortality. And so I was like, yeah, right. It's like, oh man, I hope I don't survive eating this pizza. You know, like, that's funny. But it depends on who's saying it. And so later on in life, we go to college, whatever, and everybody's a drunk idiot in college. I don't care who you are. Everybody's a moron in college. I was absolutely the banner-waving moron in college. So I'm your guy. I know what I is. So I was that guy, and we all got into drinking and stuff like that. But then you could see that my brother was quickly deteriorating. But I did not forget the lessons of toughness, being there for your tribe, and all these other things. And so then it became fairly apparent as he graduated and went on to the military and did his own grown-up thing. It was very, very apparent that he was going to be his biggest enemy for sure. It became very, very clear that my new opponent looks exactly like my hero and my best friend, and I don't know how to protect him. I don't know what to do. And so, you know, obviously I'd try to build him up and give him love because he was a super sharp guy, just the sharpest, most astute observer possibly of all time. And I know a lot of sharp people. He's right up there with them. And so I'd be like, God, you're such a great writer. You're so smart. Everybody loves you. All this stuff. And so I would try that. That's how I was going to work this opponent. But that didn't work out very well. So eventually, he started to slip a lot. And then he was stationed in Korea. He moved back to Korea as a grown-up, and he went off the grid for the first time. He went off the grid. Nobody knew where it was. Nobody knew what happened. Nobody knew anything. Gone. And given the environment that he was in mentally, it scared the hell out of everybody. My mom, me, we called the Red Cross over there. We had to save him. Like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? And so that was the first time that happened. And I remember when I heard his voice in my kitchen. After 4 days, he just showed up at his apartment like it was no big deal. And I just remember hanging up and collapsing right where I was, collapsing, just heaving tears. I was so happy to hear his voice, and I was so scared that I wasn't gonna again. And that went on for like 20 minutes. And so he fell off the grid a few more times after that over the years. This is all very gradual. But then there came a point when he fell off the grid, and one of the times was in Juarez, Juarez, as in like the #1 mortality rate in the world at the time, that Juarez. And so after that, I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it like this. I need to try to work this opponent in a different way. I need to do tough love. It pissed me off a lot. I can't reward this person for dragging all of us through this unbelievable jungle of pain and death and all these scary things that we were thinking would happen at all times. I'm not going to reward him anymore. I'm just not. This is how I'm going to fight this new opponent. I don't care that he looks like the person who I love. I don't care that he looks like my hero. And so I tried that route. And our conversations, we had our own language. He would talk to me like, cook! We would have this like military way of talking. I know I don't look terribly militaire, but we had our own language. We had our own thing, and it was beautiful, and it was ours. And so our conversations became more and more strained. But it was because I was working this new technique and I was going to try this new thing. And he was going through, I think, harder times then. He was going through a divorce. He had a car accident. And he even asked my mom to ask me to call him at the hospital. But I didn't because I was trying my new thing. And so this went on for a little while. The voicemails I would get from him would be more and more, Cook, just wanted to say hi. All right. And you have no idea how bad I wanted to call him back. You have no idea how bad I wanted to call him back, but I was just like, I'm not going to reward this anymore. I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. I'm the leader now. I'm not going to do this. And so then I found out he was moving. He was moving from Texas to Alexandria, Virginia, where we have a bunch of friends. I was like, oh, it's working. It's working. This is great. This is wonderful news. He's getting a divorce. That sucks, but he's got the rest of the family to lean on. This is awesome. Yes, this is great. So it was his birthday, March 26th, and I sent him a text, Cook, happy birthday, just whatever, just kind of like thinking about getting back in the groove of our relationship. And then I think he left April 6th for the drive to go through the US to get to Virginia. And then on the morning of April 9th is when I woke up to voicemails of sheer panic and terror. I've never heard voices like that before. And it was my mom and my sister, and they just kept saying, it's an emergency, come home right now. And I didn't need to know what happened. I didn't need to hear the words. Of course, I already knew what happened. He ended up in a shithole motel in Memphis on the 8th. And he sent a text to his best friend that was meant for us too, that said, hey, it's not your fault. I'm sorry it has to be this way, and I love you. And so we got that text too from him. And I couldn't help but feel immediately that I failed. That I failed him, that I failed my family, that I failed myself. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and join him. That's all I wanted to do. Because I had prided myself so long on being able to beat whatever opponent I put my mind to. And this time, it was the wrong one, and it was the wrong move, and I lost real big. And even if it wasn't for that, it's just mostly that I just wanted to tell him I loved him one more time. I just wanted to tell him he was my hero one more time. I just wanted to tell him. It's because so much time had elapsed that I didn't know if he knew that I loved him anymore. I didn't know. And I didn't know if maybe if I had backed off this tough love embargo sooner, that maybe I would have been one of the guys he called when he got into that very dark place again that he didn't come back from this time. So that was real tough. And I just couldn't help but feel that I lost him and that I failed him.